bonjour tout le monde. Happy New Year to everyone. I know you must be surprised to see me. You must have thought I completely dropped off the surface of the earth and abandoned this podcast. But it is not the truth. It is not reality. I did skip a month. Before I start with today's topic and I introduce to you our apero of the month, I do have to talk a little bit about why I skipped the episodes. Even though I know that this podcast is still in its infancy, if you will, I don't have that many listeners, viewers, and I especially don't really touch people outside of my YouTube channel that I've already established or my Tumblr blog. But yeah, I am hoping for it to reach more people that don't know me previously, that don't necessarily give a fuck about Thai dramas, So we shall see where it goes. I'm still on this journey. I'm not giving up or anything. The reason I didn't post an episode last month is that I had a lot going on. First of all, I had finals. And so I was really, really stressed about that because I know the way that French school work. I know the way that works very well. I have lived and had the French education since I was a kid, since I was born. So I know that usually I don't really have to work too hard. I am very privileged in that I was always someone who is come on, not my couch. My couch sets me up every time. It's annoying. Sorry. Fuck you, bitch. Girl. Help me out a little bit. Sorry about that. So what was I saying? I was saying that when I started my master's here, also, first of all, I didn't go to school for 2 years, which might not seem like a lot, but it is I went into a mindset where, honestly, I am good at studies kind of effortlessly, which is a huge privilege. I think it's because I was born into quite an educated family. My dad actually didn't kind of struggled in his studies, but he's a very, very smart man. It's just that studies weren't necessarily for him. And my mom was the complete opposite, where she is also very smart, perhaps definitely smarter even. But she was always the academic one, and that's the way that she actually moved to France with a scholarship to come do her master's in Paris, because she's that brilliant, So I am from a very educated family. I went to museums. I watched black and white movies since I was 3 or 4 years old. I owe a lot to my family, and more specifically my mom. And so that makes it so I have very good comprehension. I understand things very quickly. And I learn things by heart very quickly as well. I'm just quite a quick person, and that's definitely due to my background and not because I'm special or anything. It's just the way that I was raised, and that's a huge privilege in life. But starting to study in Thailand instead, I had a lot of fears, because I know that Asians tend to study, for them, studies are way more important than in Europe. And it's kind of their whole life, and they prepare themselves their whole lives to enter a good university. And I was accepted in the number 1 university in Thailand. So I'm okay, the pressure is on. I'm gonna fucking suck. And turns out that I'm going to be honest, my degree that I'm doing right now has kind of let me down and quite disappointed me. The classes are very surface level and very, I'm not learning much. I realized that I also taught the same way when I was in France, in Paris, doing my bachelor's degree. And I was oh my God, every class is so fucking boring. I'm not learning anything. And now, years later, I'm realizing, oh, no, I did learn quite a lot. Some classes I didn't learn anything, but a lot of them I still learned bits and bobs that are very important about art history and all of this type of stuff, museum history more specifically, because that's my specialty. But yeah, here I feel like it's super surface level. The professors are not like very high level in my opinion, no shade, all love, but yeah, and talk about topics that don't necessarily always interest me. And so yeah, it was kind of hard to realize that I'm paying 40 times what I would be paying in France if I was accepted in a like public university masters. To have classes that disappoint me. My classmates have had a lot of issues with them. It's been really hard because I'm the only European in that class. And it's not that my classmates at first made me feel like excluded at all, but it slowly started feeling that way, especially because all of our like works, almost all of them are group works. And so I've always been someone who's meant to be the leader. Some people have leader personalities. Some people are more comfortable following. I've always been a leader. Even when I was a super shy kid, I was the leader of my group. I would find like kids that were more shy than me, so I could lead them because I've always been someone with a very strong personality. I've always been extremely creative with like very strong ideas. So that's kind of the way that I am. And it's not that I'm not willing to hear other people's out. In fact, I do think I don't consider myself a good leader because I always seek the approval of every member. Like if I have an idea, I will always ask like, is that okay with you guys? Like, do you want to like change this a little bit? Like, what is going on through your mind? But sadly, like I've been undermined as a leader in one of my groups, which was really fucking annoying, where they didn't ask me any opinion. They didn't follow up on anything. I literally would show up at our like weekly reunions about that project and learn new things that we hadn't agreed on, even though like we had voted on other things prior to that. And it was very frustrating. At other times I had to do the whole work myself because they couldn't even do like a PowerPoint correctly. Like literally I did a script about the topic and they literally just copied my scripts like onto the PowerPoint. I'm like, no babe, PowerPoints are supposed to be keywords and key sentences. Like you're not supposed to write a whole fucking essay in the PowerPoint. You're speaking the essay out loud. I just like, I have been faced with so much mediocrity. I have been like one of the girls who is now my arch nemesis that I honestly wouldn't cry if she died. Like no shade or love, but like that's the reality of it. Literally tried to guilt trip me at like 11 p.m. A night where we came back from our trip, like a class trip that lasted for 4 nights, where we were exhausted. We didn't sleep one bit. We were like all crazy exhausted, and another member decided to put the presentation like super early in the morning the next day at 10 a.m. And I'm like, no babe, I'm gonna sleep like 14 hours. I haven't slept in 5 days. What the fuck are you talking about? And yeah, that girl tried to guilt trip me and look down on me to like do this dirty work at 10 p.m. where I was in bed literally closing my eyes and going to sleep. And yeah, I fucking hate I have been judged for doing other things in class. I'm sorry for doing other things in class, especially in our most boring, most useless class that everyone agrees was a fucking shitty class, even though they sucked the teacher's dick afterwards. Like, we love you. We learned so much in your class, bitch. That's one thing about me. I'm one of the most straightforward and honest people out there, okay? I am not gonna suck my teacher's dick if I don't really like their class. Girl, this teacher's mother died and 3 of the classmates went to her funeral when the whole semester they were fucking talking shit behind her back. Like, how fucked up is that? Literally in one of the pictures, the professor is holding one of our classmates' like hands in support, like she's so moved that they showed up. But the whole semester they talked shit about her. Like, I'm sorry, bitch, but that could never be me. Girl, my classmates have tried me so much this year, and the reason it has affected me so much is my whole life I've been someone who is someone who idealizes everything. So I'm an INFP. If you like kind of are versed into MBTI types, I'm an INFP, and this is the type that idealizes everything. I have worked extremely hard since I was a teenager to kind of reduce this idealization as much as I can. But my first instinct about anything, everything, everyone is always to idealize them. So when I had my orientation trip back in August, and it was literally out of a fucking Thai drama. We did the games out of the Thai dramas. We were on the beach like the fucking Thai dramas that always have a beach episode. Everyone got along with me. They gave me shared their medicine with me, their anti-mosquito things with me. It was straight up, we were discussing like traveling together, doing stuff together on the weekends all the time. I was so fucking happy because growing up on American TV shows where everyone lives on the same campus and everyone is super close, I've always wanted to have this kind of experience in university where I'm friends with everyone, we hang out all the time, we party together, all that shit. And with the French university, I never got that because literally no one lives on campus. It's not a campus. We live in a small ass city. Like Paris is a tiny city. There's no space for a campus unless you live in the countryside or in the suburbs. So yeah, I could never make close friends in university, and it was one of the biggest part into why I hated French university so fucking much. And it was literally hell for me because I felt so lonely. I felt like I was hanging out with people I knew very well. I would not stay friends with once the bachelor degree was over. And so when I had this almost perfect fucking orientation trip, I really thought my idealization, even though I tried not to idealize too much, like this happened and it was perfect. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to make friends. We were discussing, most of my classmates are from China. So we were discussing me going to China and them having me visit. I've always wanted to visit China, but I know it's really hard if you don't have like a local that knows the way there, because literally most people don't speak English. Like the payment is really complicated, all that shit. So I was just like really excited. And week after week after week, my classmates let me down. Like there is not one person. Oh, okay, there's maybe one or two that haven't like made me feel like shit. I'm gonna be honest. And so yeah, I'm sorry I've been ranting about this for 12 minutes, but I want you to understand why I did not post the episode last month. My mental health has not been great. I have switched from a gap year where all I did for 1 year, and I had my ups and downs in terms of mental health too. I had my friendship dramas. Like I had a lot of friendship drama, a lot of stuff happening. I was stressed out about immigration. This time I don't really have that, thank goodness. But I was free. And I've realized I'm really not meant for like a structured work day and things. And even though my classes are at like in the evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., which is good because I'm a night owl. So I usually sleep around 2 a.m. and wake up around noon or 10 a.m. max. Like this is the earliest I will wake up. And so for me, it's ideal, but it's really not. Actually, I felt like it cut my day. Like I felt like I was so stressed out about I put too much pressure on myself, and I really wanted so bad to be friends with my classmates that I kept trying, and they would always bail on me and they would hang out without me. And I fucking hate that shit. And I know I am more sensitive than about these kinds of things. Like my friendships and my relationships with others have always been my Achilles heel, or Achilles heel. I think that's how you say it in fucking English, which doesn't make any sense. CH make sh. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, I just like, for me, it's something that I feel extremely insecure about because I've been always taken for granted. I've always had people dislike me just because I guess I have a dislikable face. Like that's me. I don't know. Like they hate seeing a bad bitch. I don't know. Like I'm not saying I'm like perfect and I've never done anyone wrong. And that's absolutely not the case. I have been a bitch sometimes, for sure. But to be honest, I feel like most of the time it was just me being myself. And I just hurt so much more in my friendships because I always feel so let down. You know, as someone who is a single bitch forever, my friendships, and especially my female friendships, are so meaningful to me. So when people let me down, when people have drama with me, I just feel it so fucking deeply. And now I've learned to detach myself with the past year where every fucking bitch was trying me. Let's be for real. Yeah, I had a lot of friendship drama last year, and now I've kind of learned to let it go and to realize when it's my fault and when it's not. And most of the time it was not. I'm sorry, babe. Like, I will apologize. I will recognize my faults in things. But when it's not my fault, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm sorry. That's how it is. Okay. And so, yeah, I just, like, my mental health has not been great because I've went from, like, this gap year that was so fucking fun. I was traveling every 2 or 3 months. I went to so many cool places. I don't know. And I felt like I had more money then as well because my rent was cheaper. I don't know where the money. I had more savings. Now my savings are all gone. I'm literally dependent on my parents' money. I fucking hate it. It's fucking annoying. Like, my mental health took a dip. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I felt like and the worst part of it all was the guilt I felt that I'm paying so much to be in Bangkok, but I'm stressing out so much about studies and getting along with my fucking ass classmates that fucking suck. I swear I want to kill some of these bitches. Some of them are okay. Some of them I never talk to them, so they're fine too. Girl. You don't know. Like, the things I've listed are just like the biggest things, but there's so much disrespect that I've had to face in like 4 fucking months, and it's so fucking annoying. And I feel like I cannot complain because I don't want to be seen. I'm the only, white. We've had a whole episode about this. At least white passing, whatever you think I am, person in that fucking class. I don't want to seem like I'm not trying to get along with everyone and I'm the problem person. I fucking hate it. Like, it sucks. And so the additional guilt of having done so much effort, like literally my application to that university took me a month because it was so annoying, so many things to do, had to pass the TOEFL and do this and do that and blah blah blah. It literally, I've put so much money, so much effort into staying in Thailand, and in the past 4 months, I haven't enjoyed it one bit. I realized I've barely gone to new places that I wanted to discover. The reason I had so much fun last year was because I was free. I discovered new things every week. I met new people every week. I realized that this is what feeds me. I need novelty. I'm someone who gets bored. I don't like routines. And that I already knew. And I thought that it would be okay because it's night classes. But I don't know. I put too much pressure on myself. I barely saw my fucking friends. It just fucking sucked. So yeah, that's why my mental health hasn't been great. And last month I had my finals coming up. So many assignments and things coming up. I had so much stress. Then I had my parents coming up. We had to like make reservations for hotels and blah, blah, blah. And I had to organize that shit. And I was not great mentally. November was not a good month for me. And the beginning of December either. You know, when I finally got on vacation at the beginning of December, I literally spent 10 days rotting in bed. Not even watching TV shows or doing things that I enjoy. Just rotting in bed. I don't even know where those days went because I did nothing. Waiting for my parents to come. And now that we are in January, I am really actively trying not to go back to that state because I am prone to depression. I'm a depressive bitch. So it's also an added pressure of being like, oh no, let's not be depressed when you live alone, because both times I was depressed before, like my big depressive episodes that lasted over 6 months and ruined my fucking life. I lived with my parents. At least I had people checking on me. I cannot afford to be depressed when I live alone. So yeah, so much pressure. So I just, I was like, until the very day I was supposed to record the episode, and then I was like, oh, it's okay, I'll post the episode like a few days late. My like followers will understand me. It's fine. It's okay. And then I realized I don't want to fucking do it. I was tired. I was grumpy. I did not want to record this episode. And I know I sound grumpy now. I promise I'm feeling better. Like seeing my parents really, really fucking helped me. It really did. So yeah, that was my rant. Oh shit, almost 20 minutes of me ranting. I'm sorry. As you can imagine and see and hear, I needed to let that out. Like I needed to let that out. So anyways, Happy New Year, bitches. So anyways, for today's apero, finally 20 minutes in, I'm sorry, we're getting to the fucking concept of this fucking podcast. We have a very special apero because my parents visiting me means that they brought me all the cheesies, all the saucissons, all the fucking alcohol. Like, let's go. It was really good. Our Christmas dinner was fire. We had foie gras. So anyways, for today's drink, we have Porto. Porto is obviously from Porto, the city in Portugal that I've had the chance to visit. It's one of my favorite cities I've ever been to. It's amazing, beautiful, and I have gone to a Porto taste test. I've tasted a red one like today, and I've tasted a white one, and that shit, if you like sweet wines, girl, that shit, love it so much. No way I went like it's disgusting. No, like yum yum yum. I eat this shit up. So anyways, we drank a little bit with my parents, and I still have half a bottle, so getting drunk by myself. Let's go. We're using, of course, my Avjumpun cup from the Land of Something. If you're thirsty, call me, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're into me, I am looking for people. Like, I have deleted all dating apps, so now I am truly relying on life. So if you like me, if you have a little crush on me, like if you want me to be your girl, like let's go. I can make anything work, even long distance. No, that's a lie. Oopsie. Ooh. I barely poured any because I don't want to get drunk tonight. Like, I had a long day, guys. I went out with my friend to the Sampeng market, which is like a huge market, very cheap in the Yawarat, so Chinatown of Bangkok. And yeah, we walked a lot. We went to a cafe that was closed. I was fucking upset about that because it looked really cute. And we went along the canal and we ate Indian food. It was really fucking delicious. And so yeah, I don't want to get drunk, but yes, let's taste this Porto that I already know because my parents and I are very avid fans of this. It's so good. If you are like me, you wish red wine especially was sweet, Porto is the solution, bitch. That's all I gotta say. And for the snacks, we also have like, basically, we have like my very French snacks, but none of them are fucking French. This is Bzurat, so this is from Lebanon. Castagna is like one of the biggest brands there. There's Al Rifai and Castagna. And my mom brought me this and she ate half of it before she left. And I was like, girlie, is that a gift for me or what's going on? You're eating all of my gifts. Like, so it's basically just like a mix of nuts. And sometimes you get the macadamia nuts, and that shit is good. For me, my love for macadamia nuts has been like since. I love the one that are like unrobed into something. I don't know what that shit is, but I love it. So the only problem with Bzurat is that these are the good ones, and there's some that I don't really like. So yeah, you kind of have to force yourself to eat some less good ones. Anyways, I'm done with this shit. Thank you. And it's very salty. Like, you eat this at the apero, literally, like today. Why is my couch? Okay, I need to fix the couch. I'm going crazy for that. I have no idea if it's better, but yeah, I was saying they're very salty, and so you drink this at the apero because yes, Lebanon was under French mandate, so they also have the apero tradition. And that's why I can talk in French with my Lebanese family without having ever learned Lebanese, which is a bad thing. I wish I had learned Lebanese. Come on. But yeah, so it makes you drink more, and so then you get drunk. That's why Lebanese people are lit. So anyways, now 26 minutes in, we're gonna talk about the topic of today. I'm sorry. I really needed that rant. Also, I don't think I'm gonna talk as much about today's topic because I don't like, I have things to say, but I don't think it's as deep or as like sparking conversations as like feminism or biraciality or any other thing. So yeah. So I am an only child. I am an only child and have been obviously my whole fucking life. I was born on the 8th of May, 1999. My parents had gotten married in 1996. And so they got married both in Lebanon and in France. They had 2 ceremonies because we love an interracial couple. Let's go. And again, as a kid, you don't really have much self-awareness. Oh, that Porto is heating already. I'm such a lightweight. It's only 18% alcohol and I'm gone, bitch. 2 sips and okay. Oh, tipsy. And yeah, so I was born like an only child, obviously. That's how, if you're the firstborn, that's kind of how it goes. And, you know, I think as a child, I didn't really realize, like, siblings, you need to have siblings or you don't need to have siblings. Like, didn't really care. I think I was always the main character. So my grandma always called me Sarah Bernard. Sarah Bernard is one of the greatest and most well-known actresses from like the beginning of the 20th century, sorry. And she was known for her very dramatic interpretation on stage. And I was a drama queen. And still am to this day, baby. That's my brand. And yeah, I was a drama queen. And so my grandma called me Sarah Bernard and kind of the whole family kind of caught up to that. And so yeah, I was Sarah Bernard literally when I was 12, my grandma for my birthday gave me a notebook with Sarah Bernard's face on it. So she would be like, look, it's a notebook of you. Inside joke. Love that. And so yeah, I think I was honestly fine being a fucking only child. And I was just like, I didn't give no fucks because I think I've always had main character syndrome. I've always wanted to be special. I've wanted to be like different and unique, which I am. Thank you. I love that for me. And yeah, so that was kind of like, as a kid, I was extremely shy. As I said, I didn't really know my place in the world. So I wasn't really thinking, yeah, if I had like a little sister, the only times I thought about getting a like sibling, it was always a little sister, never a boy. Like, bitch, I've been man hating since birth, baby. Misandry since birth, babe. But yeah, and I remember like being, I don't know, 6-7 years old and entering. I was in a very, very small, as I said in previous episodes, I was in a very small kindergarten, which is not even called, in French, we have 2 things. We have maternelle and we have jardin d'enfant. Maternelle is like the classic kindergarten with hundreds of kids that run around on the playground, blah, blah, blah. But I was in a jardin d'enfant, which translates to garden of kids, where it was a very, very small place. We were about 30 kids of all ages between 3 and 6. And there were like only 4 maybe teachers, and I think one of them was the fucking director of the Jardin d'Enfants. So anyways, and so yeah, I grew up like when I was in the Jardin d'Enfants, we were all kind of like, yeah, chill kids, and I didn't really question being an only child. I had 2 childhood best friends that I made at that garden of kids. One didn't have siblings yet, and the other, her sister, was quite a bit older. I think she was like at least 6 years older, and so that made her irrelevant. Like she was already almost in middle school when we were just babies. So I didn't really care. I didn't think it was necessarily like normal or quote unquote like what it should be to have a sibling. But then I got into primary school where I was with way more people. And I remember that like one of the kids was like, like, do you have like siblings? Do you have like a sister or brother? And I was like, no, I don't. And he told me, oh, that's not normal. Like, you should have one. And so I remember very, very blurrily, because as I said before, I don't really remember my childhood like that. But I went home that day after class, and I was like, my mom was waiting for me, or my mom came home after, I don't really remember. And I was like, Mom, I want a sibling. And more specifically, I wanted a little sister again. Hate men. And so I remember, like, weirdly enough, I kind of remember the look on my mom's face. Because at the time, there was a significant amount of background that I did not know. And I will give it to you a little later. I want to leave a little bit of suspense, if you will. And yeah, so I asked for a sibling maybe once or twice, and then I kind of forgot about it and kind of went on with my life. I realized that most people had siblings, that I was kind of the exception to not have siblings, and actually I was kind of fine with that. You know, I was a very shy kid, very introverted. Surely I think that having a sibling would have kind of brought me out of my shell, especially with other kids around my age, because I was always someone who was way more comfortable speaking with adults. Like, I remember as a kid, always when my parents had their friends over, I would have full-blown conversations with them at the age of 6, 7. And they were always like, oh my God, you have so much vocabulary, like you speak so well. Thank you. Yeah, I was like an educated little bitch, as I said. Like, I've always been very privileged on that aspect. And so I was always very comfortable speaking with adults, because I was very comfortable speaking with my parents, speaking with my grandma, you know. And so for me, adults actually have always been easier than kids, even when I was a kid myself, and the worst teenagers for sure. But yeah, so for me, it was something that, of course, we'll talk about the pros and cons for having a sibling or not having a sibling, or being an only child a little bit later. But for me, it was not something that really had a huge impact on me, but it did, I think, participate in making me feel, again, out of place and like an outcast. It was yet another thing where I felt like I did not belong in parallel with my biraciality, where I was not fully white because of my hair and my eyebrows, and at the same time I was not Arab at all, Arab enough for the Arab kids who all came from North Africa, and I came from the Middle East. And so I think these two aspects really made me feel out of place and made me feel like, oh, I'm so different, I don't really get it, I'm kind of lost, I'm kind of so different than the norm. And in this way, it has kind of participated in my development in such an important way. And I think the fact that I really appreciate being different now, and it's kind of my trademark in a way, I want to be different, as I said in a previous episode, is because I really have learned to embrace it, because I felt it since day one. I was always too shy compared to the other kids. I was always not white enough compared to the other kids, but not Arab enough. And I was always kind of weird for not having siblings. I was never in the norm. And I'm not saying that a kid that is perfectly in the norm, in terms of how they are, who they are, like they're white, they are outspoken, and they have siblings. I'm not saying they're not gonna have some struggles, but for me, it really accentuated my feelings of being out of place. But at the same time, I didn't really put a name on it or a word on it, and I was just like chilling, living my life as a kid, you know. After a long time, so I became like a teenager, and I went to high school. And for me, high school was the change from middle school to high school was a very traumatizing time, because basically I was with 9 years, so through primary school and middle school for 9 years. So in France, primary school is 5 years, middle school is 4 years. And so for 9 years, I was with basically the same people, because like the middle school and primary school were two doors. There's one blue for the primary school and one green for the middle school. And so literally when I became 11 and went to 6th grade, I just literally switched doors, like quite literally. So literally almost 99% of the kids enrolled in the primary school went to the middle school right after. And so I knew everyone. I was already quite close to everyone. And it was just really comforting to be with people that I already knew. But when I switched to high school, it was the complete opposite, where I was with like maybe 2 or 3 people from my high school, and all 3 people that I didn't like at all. So yeah, that was fun. And I arrived and I had to take the metro to go there. So I couldn't just walk there because up until then, my primary school and middle school were both like literally 2 streets next to me, like literally 2 minutes away. I just went like this and I was at school. So I literally could leave for school like less than 5 minutes before class started and I would be fine. And so it was kind of traumatizing for me to start high school. That's when I had my binge eating disorder. So that was fun. I felt really not great, but that will be for another topic. But anyways, so I remember then, by then kind of like the judgment, normally I thought the judgment for not having siblings would dwindle. And it's also at that time that I kind of learned the truth as to why I am truly an only child. And before I tell you why, I just have one comment from one of my friends that I stayed friends for 8 years. So from the beginning of high school to the end of my first gap year after university. So for a long time. And she knew my circumstances. She knew why I was an only child. And still in a conversation, she was like, she had 2 siblings. One little sister that was like 1 or 2 years younger than her that she did not get along with, that was always in competition with her. And one little brother that was like 5 years younger than her and that was very close to her. And she told me that having siblings was so much better because you were less lonely. We will address all these things. And she thought this was like kind of the natural way of life. And once again, she knew my circumstances. I'm going to tell them to you in a minute. And she had been my friend for a few years by now, and we were quite close. And the fact that even she, who again knew my circumstances, was saying this kind of stuff to me really made me feel bad. It really made me realize like that when you don't fit in the boxes that people expect of you, even if you explain your circumstances, they will judge you no matter what, even if they are your close friends. Even if they know exactly why you're like this and you don't have siblings or whatever. And for me, that really sucked. And I forgave this person. I stayed friends with her like for 4 or 5 more years after that. But it's something that has stayed with me until now. Because I've been like, how dare you judge me for something that neither I nor my parents had any control over. So now let's go back to the beginning. I was born, and as I said, 8th May of 1999. And 6 months after my birth, my dad was diagnosed with leukemia. My dad had cancer when I was barely born. This is a moment that I do not have enough information on because I was a little fucking baby. And even though my dad is a very nonchalant person, a very stoic person, he's very calm. It often feels like he doesn't have any feelings, especially negative feelings. He's just the chill guy that just lives by. Obviously, that's not the truth. Even the chill people have feelings, have hurt. And I think, though, that My dad is someone who is not very good at expressing his feelings. Part of it is because he's a man who grew up in an older generation. He's almost like 60, not almost 50, 60. He's almost 55. And so I think there's a huge part to that. But also my family, my French side of my family is very known for not expressing their emotions, be it girls or men. That's just the way that that side of my family is. My grandma is the same. My aunt is the same. Even my cousin from that side is the same. I am glad that I have inherited that aspect more from my Lebanese family that expresses themselves. I would like to think that I am kind of a good in between. But after I just told you that I've been a drama queen since birth, probably you won't believe me. And so I have, again, not a lot of information. I have zero memory, obviously, but I have not a lot of information on that period and how it affected my dad directly. I have more so of the feelings of my mom. And so my dad, because he was immunodeficient, I think that's the word, could not see me for many weeks. And my mom would come and show me at the window when I was just 6 months old. My dad, is this very tall man, he's 1.90 m. I don't know what that makes in American heights, as I like to call them. But that man who looks so strong was in the hospital after what is supposed to be the happiest moment of his life, my birth. Hello, I'm the main character once again. And so, again, this is like I'm not gonna like go on and on about my dad's illness. He thankfully completely went into remission and he has not struggled with it for like over 20 years now. But I do think it has been a very hard challenge that not only him, but also him and my mom had to overcome, especially so close after my birth. So with cancer and with the treatment of cancer, most of the time, there is the loom of infertility. And again, my parents, I'm their kid, so I don't have all the tea, all the details. But my parents, and I'm sorry for calling it tea, it's not tea, it's literally real people's life. I wanted to be funny, sorry. But yeah, basically my parents could not have kids. And I know for a fact they've tried to shield me for it and made me feel better about it. But I know for a fact that they would have at least wanted to have 2 kids. Simply for the fact that, first of all, my mom is Lebanese. In Lebanon, you'd never have just 1 kid. Like, that's a non-thing. And I will also tell you about the comments that so many Lebanese people have made to my mom later. But also because I think most people never just want 1 kid. Most people want multiples. Actually, me being an only child, I don't want kids ever. But if I wanted a kid, if I were to change my mind and adopt someone, I would just adopt 1 kid. Not just because it's incredibly hard to adopt, but also because I believe that the way I was raised was actually fucking great. And that having 1 kid, you can dedicate your whole attention to them and treat them in the way that they deserve to be treated, because being a kid is so hard. It's being so full of big feelings and big emotions and big thoughts. And I think, yeah, being an only kid has this advantage where you have the full attention of your parents, or as much as you can. But yeah, I know for a fact my parents wanted at least 2 kids. Probably not 3, but at least 2. And so obviously, like, my dad having this cancer right after my birth kind of changed this plan. And when I came home and asked innocently for a sibling, because another of my like classmates had told me that I need a sibling to be valid, I guess, I didn't realize that I put my parents in an extreme awkward position. That I hurt their feelings because they knew that it would not be possible. And again, this is very like, I've been told this once in like, not fully, it was not a full conversation about it. Just my mom said 1 sentence about it. But she did tell me that they attempted to do the treatments against infertility. But after the first time they went to that doctor, they felt like they didn't want to do it. And so they gave up, which is totally valid of them. And so that's why I'm an only child. Not by choice, but by circumstances. Circumstances that put my fucking dad in the fucking hospital when I was just fucking born. So I think you might understand why, not only if I was just an only child because my parents just wanted one kid, I would still be pissed off that people, like, if you're a 6-year-old kid, whatever. But as soon as you're like a teenager over 16, why are you trying to like shame other people for not having siblings? That's insane. We have again a case where people cannot conceive the thought of others not living exactly like they do. And I never understood that. I don't want everyone to live like me. I never have. I don't think that my way of living and my way of being is the best way there is. But some people really do. Some people really think that there is only one way of living. It's the way that they think is right. The way that they've been raised in. And that's fucked up. So yes, when my friend, we were 17, and I had told her why I don't have a sibling, and I had told her that my dad had been in the fucking hospital like 6 months after my fucking birth, and she had the audacity to basically imply, if not tell me straight up, that me being an only child was not living life right, you might understand why I'm pissed off. And now there's also the pressure of Lebanese people. Let me get back to that. Where every year since I was fucking born, like, Lebanese people are nosy, okay? The neighbors want to know your whole fucking life. And there was that one time, and I will touch upon it in the fat episode coming soon, that a neighbor straight up went to my mom and told her, your daughter is fat. Why is she fat? Okay. Thanks. Okay, you are sick in the head. I have a mirror. Bitch, don't talk to me when I can't understand. Bitch. Oh, anyways. But most of the time, when people talk to my mom, they would be like, oh my God, this is your husband. He's white, he's French. Oh my God. This is your daughter. Where's the other siblings? Or does she have any other siblings? And my mom would say no. And all the time they would be like, oh no, it's not right. It's not right. She needs a sibling. And this ranged from when I was still a kid, and hypothetically, because they didn't know my dad's issues, they could be like, yeah, she needs a sibling. But when I started being 15, why would I need a fucking sibling at 15? Do I want to have a baby crying in my fucking house at 15? No joke, but one of my high school closest friends literally had her baby brother at 16. That shit is insane. 16 years of difference. Babe, I could not do it. Anyways, so I was just they could keep running their mouth. I'm sure to this day, if we go to Lebanon and people ask her, is she an only child? And my mom says yes, they're gonna be like, oh my God, that's not right. And I'm like, okay, babe, but my mom is almost 60, babe. She's not gonna have a kid now, so shut the fuck up. Literally. Anyways. I hate bitches. Girl. I think you see, in this way, this podcast retraces so many things and makes so much more sense of why exactly I fucking hate judgment. And I've always praised myself on being non-judgmental and being in a safe space for people to confide things to me, because I have felt so judged my entire fucking life for so many aspects of myself that I fucking hate judgment. So yeah, I think now you kind of realize why I am the way I am. And yeah, because people judge me for being an only child when it's because my dad had fucking cancer right after I was born. So yeah, honestly, the criticism around being an only child have always been so fucking annoying, and now just went into my fucking mind. I remember this TikTok that was your red flag. What's your red flag? And you had many things like you drink too much or whatever. One of them was literally being an only child. My existence is considered a red flag. Honestly, we're not like kicking, we're not like joking anymore, we're not having fun. It kind of hurts. Even if my dad didn't have cancer and become infertile, it would still fucking hurt. So now let's address the cliches and stereotypes around only children. We don't know how to socialize. We are selfish and egotistical because we got everything we wanted and the full attention of our parents the whole time. We are arrogant, and we are, I don't know. I actually don't really know all the cliches around only children. In my opinion, there is pros and cons to everything. Oh my god, nuance? Nuance is the answer? As fucking always. That's insane. Didn't see that one coming. So, here's the good sides of being an only child. Yes, I had a lot of my parents' attention growing up, especially my mom's attention. And I'm very grateful for that because I am an attention whore. I am someone who has a fear of abandonment, who has felt like, even with that, I feel like I was not loved enough as a child. Again, because people have always judged me for who I am. So I've always felt like I was not enough for people. So thank goodness that I had the unwavering attention and love of my parents as an only child. Because imagine how it would be if it wasn't the case. If I had like 3 siblings and was the forgotten one. Bitch, I would be in the psych. I would be in the psych ward now. My mental health is already fucked up enough as it is. So that's a plus. Second of all, I am not afraid of being alone. And that's, in my opinion, my greatest strength. In this society, so many people are completely afraid of being alone. I have this friend who, even though she has traveled the whole fucking world, has never traveled without either her brother or her best friend, who she considers her sister, with her. She has never been truly alone. She's someone who has had a man she was talking to or dating at all times since she was a literal child. And I see so many other of my friends who cannot see themselves as whole if they don't always have a relationship on the happening or on the verge of happening, or you're talking to someone. These people do not know how to be alone. They choose love instead of choosing to love themselves. I truly believe that a true great relationship will be something that will find you. Something that will happen out of nowhere. Or if not nowhere, something that you carefully constructed over months. I do not believe that dating apps and the way that we all rush into not even relationships, because no one wants to be in relationships nowadays, situationships, which is my worst, my least favorite word ever, because people don't want to be alone. And I love being alone. It's my greatest strength. I can travel alone, go to the movies alone. I've been to most of my concerts alone because none of my friends have ever had the same music taste as me. I can go to the restaurant alone. I can go to cafes alone. I can do everything alone. And I love living alone. That's my favorite fucking thing in the fucking world. And I think it really has built character for me that I have learned to be alone. Moreover, I think my best side that has developed, not fully, but in big part because I'm an only child, is my imagination, my creativity. As a kid, Even though I was so lucky because my parents really paid so much attention to me, they played with me, they really loved me. I've been really lucky that in my life, I've been a loved child. And my parents always did everything to make me happy. Again, as I said before, the only place where they failed was my weight and putting me on a diet early on. But anyways, again, that will be for another episode. Even though my parents played a lot with me, I was always a kid that was in her head because my parents can only ever do so much. Also, I was a shy kid. So I developed a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity very early on. And even though I'm sure I would have been a creative person even if I had siblings, it would have been different. It wouldn't have been the same thing. I wouldn't say it's better or worse, but it would have been different. And I love the way that I am now. I love that I'm able to entertain myself at all times and that I don't need others to feel fulfilled in life, to feel happy. And it's, for me, one of the greatest strengths of being an only child. It's something that builds character. However, there are things that are better, I think, with siblings. And in my opinion, the greatest thing about having siblings is having kids your age that are kind of forced to be your friend. Of course, it doesn't really work if your siblings are like a decade younger than you. But having someone around your age that you talk to every day, that you hang out with every day, really builds, I think, your socialization. Really makes it easier for you to socialize with other kids who you aren't related to. Whereas for me as an only child, I always struggled, as I said before, with my relationship with other kids, especially because I was used to being only surrounded by adults. The only kids in my family that were around my age were my cousins that live in the Lebanese mountain that I would see once a fucking year. So not a lot of socialization there, even though I got along with them great. And I think, this is something that lacked in me, but at the same time, there are people who have siblings and are still extremely shy, don't know how to socialize. So we cannot make generalization either. We cannot say, every only child is going to be super creative and have a great imagination because they played by themselves more. And we cannot say that every kid that has siblings is going to be more social and better at socializing with kids their age. We cannot determine this kind of stuff. There is so much nature and nurture going into who someone is. Okay? And so for me, there is that aspect of having siblings that is good. I think you feel less lonely. For me, I have felt lonely at times, and maybe if I had siblings, it would have been slightly better. And honestly, that's kind of it. Maybe it makes you learn to share more, but I was never someone who doesn't like to share. I was always someone who likes to share a lot, because I was raised in socialist values, bitch. Like, girl, that's who I was. I am a bit materialistic, but that's because I'm a Taurus, okay? But I do like to share. I'm not like the most generous person out there, especially now. I feel like if I had more wealth, I would be more generous, but maybe that's completely false because, as it's been shown time and time again, it's poor people who tend to be the most generous, and the richer you get, the less generous you are. So whoopsie. But I am not the most generous person out there, that's for sure. But I am not someone who doesn't share with others, who thinks they're the king of the world, because my parents, even though I was raised with so much attention and love for my parents, which again was great, because even to this day, I am very insecure in the love that others have to give me. And I always feel slighted. I always feel like people don't love me enough. Like it's a real problem. It's a real feeling that I have and I've had for my whole fucking life. And it's a real issue that honestly handicaps a little bit my life. And so, I think there's good and bad into being a sibling. And I think there's a lot of bad coming to having siblings. If you don't get along with your siblings, you're stuck with someone you fucking hate for 18 years. You have to fight about inheritance stuff, things like that oftentimes. You have much more drama because it's not just you and your parents, you have so many other people, and then you have the brothers-in-laws, the brother-in-laws, and the fucking sisters-in-laws that gets into it, and it becomes a huge fucking mess, you know? But I do think one thing that is really nice, and it's kind of depressing and kind of dark, and I try to not think about it too much, is that when my parents cross the Rainbow Bridge, if you will, which I do not like to talk about, especially since they're very young, knock on wood. I don't want to bring bad energy and bad luck into this, but yeah. When my parents cross that bridge, I'll be alone in my grief. I will be able to share my grief with other members of my family, but it will never be the same. Losing an aunt or uncle or even sister is not the same as losing your parents. I'm not gonna cry because nothing has happened yet. Knock on wood. Fuck this shit. But that's the one thing that I really envy people with siblings, because you will, unless again your siblings are fucking assholes, and that's a fucking lottery. But if you do get along with your siblings, how comforting it is to think that they know exactly the pain you're going through. Maybe they grieve differently, but at least you know that you're feeling the same inside. And I will never experience that. And that's really fucking sad. And yes, it will be lonely if that happens. Knock on wood. So yeah, there is good things to having siblings. There is bad things to having siblings. There is great things to being an only child. I am super happy to have been an only child. I am glad because it has made me ultimately who I am. And people with siblings, it has also made them who they are. But what I wanted to focus this episode on, especially, is the judgment. I get that when you're a kid and you're 6 years old and every one of your friends has siblings, you have siblings, and you don't really like your baby brother, but anyways, you have to deal with him. And then you see one fucking girl who doesn't have siblings and you're gonna be like, you're weird. That's fine. That's a little kid speaking. They don't know better. They don't know that my dad got cancer. Right? But when you're fucking adult, like a grown-ass bitch, and you dare to tell me, having siblings is like the only way of life. Like, it's the best way to live. Respectfully, go to fucking hell. And I don't even believe in hell. So go to fucking... What's hell? What's hell? What's hell? What's hell? What's hell? I imagine hell to be a little town in Germany where everyone is racist and the weather is fucking shit. And you go there and you don't have a coat, so you get cold forever and you die. That's what I wish for you. Thank you. So yeah, I hope, I don't know if I'm opening eyes. I don't know. Again, this podcast has literally no fucking reach. It's very small, and that's okay. But I just wanted to lay it all out because I don't think people realize how hurtful it is to have the way you have lived your life, your whole fucking life, and you are very happy with, be constantly judged and questioned as subpar. Especially then, after knowing the background, for the whole time, I was kind of okay being judged for being an only child. But when I learned that it was because my dad got cancer and that my parents did not do this by choice, and probably forever they will feel kind of a pain, an emptiness in their chest at the thought of maybe having gotten me siblings. it really pisses me off. Because you never know people's circumstances. You never know. And even if you do, didn't keep my friend from running her fucking mouth. Didn't keep her from running her fucking mouth. So all I'm saying is just shut your fucking mouth. Thank you. Don't judge others that have different lifestyles than you, especially when you don't know their context of life. You don't know anything about that. And try to see things with fucking nuance. I don't know. It's my favorite word. Like, nothing is ever black and white. Having siblings can be great. It can be fucking hell. Being an only child can be great. It can be fucking hell. Ultimately, though, what I love the most about being an only child is that I'm the main character. Like, babe, I remember that same friend who shamed me for not having siblings, even though she knew why. I remember, I will end on this, that I told her, like, yeah, every parent has a favorite, which is true. I'm sorry if you have siblings and maybe you're not the favorite. That's the fear you have to live with. I am their favorite. They don't have no choice, babe. Okay? Thank you. So, every parent has a favorite, and you might not be theirs. And personally, I don't, like, that's kind of sad for people who has never judged only children. But for those who have, and that's most people with siblings at one point in their lives, let's be for real, babes. Let's be for real. Have fun having the thought that maybe your shitty brother that you do not get along with is your mama's favorite. But I know who is my parents' favorite. It's yours truly. So, yeah, you can run your mouth, but at the same time, I know that I am literally the sunshine of my parents' life. So, you know what? Run your mouth. You know what? Okay, I'm fine with you judging me, even though my dad literally had cancer 6 months after I was born. So yeah, that was the closing words. I'm sorry if you have siblings and feel attacked. I do not want this podcast episode to like be a fucking kindergarten debate on whether having siblings is better than being an only child. Like, we're past that. Once again, I want this to be like, don't judge others. Shut your fucking mouth. You do not know people's circumstances. And just like, it's not because someone doesn't have the same lifestyle as you, that they're beneath you, that their life has gone to waste, that they're unhappy. That's the conclusion to today's episode. I will see you next month for sure. Don't worry. I don't have finals that month, so I shall be fine. And I am not going to tell you the topic to the next podcast. I want to leave an air of mystery. So anyways, I'm glad you joined me today for this apero. It was really good. That Porto is, it hits, okay? And I'll see you next month. Really leave your thoughts in the comments. Share this podcast with as many people as you can, please. I want to grow this podcast. I know it has potential. Let's go, babes. Let's go, babes. Share it. Let's go. You put it in the background and you feel like you have a best friend ranting to you for an hour. It's the best. Thank you. But yes, I will see you next month, and I love you guys. To anyone who watches my podcast, like, thank you for the support. I've had a few people actually ask me about like the lack of episode last month, and it literally warmed my fucking heart. Like, thank you. I really appreciated it. And also, I know that my best friend is gonna be super happy because she asked me about it, and I told her I was filming this today. So yeah, enjoy, bestie. Love you. Bye bye, everyone.